I am the news anchor of the Trib Report with the Lewiston Tribune, and it's my pleasure to be here to be part of the candidate forum. Very informal, very comfortable. When I call on our candidates, I'll just be using them by their first name. Want everybody to be comfortable. A couple of housekeeping things to take care of. First, if you need the restroom, out the door to your left. Can you make sure your phones are either off or on silent at this time? That would be great. And the LC Valley Chamber of Commerce is recording this, and it will be up on their website coming up after 5 o'clock tomorrow. There's no opening or closing statements. The League and the Chamber reserve the right to announce and make adjustments to the forum as needed. The candidates have not received these questions in advance, except for the very first question. The remaining extra questions for the mayor and councilor candidates were either submitted ahead or developed by the League and will be read aloud at the end of this forum. They will not be addressed tonight. There's no opportunity for questions from the audience because of our time limit. The Chamber does not support or endorse any candidates for public office. Its involvement is solely for the purpose of facilitating this and dissemination of nonpartisan information to the public. Furthermore, no portion of any League Chamber-sponsored video production may be used in whole or in part for campaign advertising or for the promotion of any candidate in any manner. And again, the program will be available after 5 tomorrow, lcvalleychamber.org. So our first part of our candidate forum, we're beginning with the position of mayor, and our two candidates, Darlene Lambert, age 47, journalist for Big Country News and a financial manager for 2 households. She has an associate degree in psychology with work-related background in the legal field and customer service and sales. Homeowner in Lewiston for 5 years, moved to the area in December of 2012 from her hometown of Clackamas, Oregon. And she moved here to be closer to her husband's aging family, lifelong Idahoans, and she's running for the position of mayor. She says, I quote, I'm a creative problem solver with the ability to see the smallest details in the bigger picture. My goal is to preserve what makes Lewiston unique and special while maintaining its affordability and safety. Our other candidate is Dan Johnson, currently serves as the mayor of Lewiston. He has been a resident of Lewiston since 2001. He is 65 years old. Johnson earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in Forest Management from the University of Idaho and a master's degree in Forest Economics from Virginia Tech. He is a certified public manager in the state of Idaho. Johnson lives in the Lewiston Orchards with his wife Jean. Together they have 6 adult children and 13 grandchildren. He enjoys traveling and spending time with his family and friends. Previously, Dan Johnson served in the elected office as Port of Lewiston Commissioner and Idaho State Senator. As we begin for question number 1 for our 2 mayor candidates here, why are you seeking this position and what do you consider to be your qualifications and or skills for this office? So let's start with Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Why do I want to be the mayor? Why do I thumbs up? Boy, I get that all the time. I'm just going to hold this so you're not going to hear me. So thank you. I'm running for office again because I want to continue to serve our community and to make it a top performing city. And that's something that I shared with our staff on day 1 when I came to the city. And it's not real complicated. It meant simple things like cleaning up our streets, the front steps of City Hall needed cleaning up. Just everything that we do shows that we care and we take pride in our city. Some of the things that we've worked on very hard over the past 4 years is to show some discipline in budgeting, which I believe we've done that, and try to put a cap on how much property tax budget we do. And we've done that. We've been very successful in that. And also we've made significant investments in capital projects throughout the city. And that's something that I would like to continue to move forward. That's it.
There you go. And Darlene, you have 1 minute. Why are you seeking this position? What do you consider to be your qualifications and or skills for the office?
I am seeking this position because I don't foresee the direction of Lewiston going in the way I feel most taxpayers and the citizens condone. I would like to keep the place affordable and safe for everyone to stay in their homes. I'm tired of seeing my neighbors have to decide whether they're paying property taxes or they're going out and getting dinner for the evening, or having the choice of selling their home or having medical insurance, daily life stuff. I've been the manager, basically financial manager for 2 households since my dad had dementia, and my mom never worked and never did anything as far as household wise. So I've been managing their household and my household long distance for 10 years. And they're both on fixed income, low budget, so I know how to stretch a dollar.
Thank you very much. Our second question is a two-parter. If you want to write this down, you have up to 2 minutes to answer this question, and we'll start with Darlene. What do you think are the most important issues facing the city of Lewiston in the next year to 5 years? And then how would you prioritize the present and future needs?
So I feel the most important issues facing Lewiston in the next 1 to 5 years is affordability, safety, and making sure that we're not bypassing major needs that need to be addressed. There are services that have gotten kicked down the road, the cans have been kicked down the road and not addressed. There's just too many little things that are getting missed. And those little things need to be addressed, and I think with the budget and somebody going in there and actually looking at every little detail and finding where the money can be stretched or cut down, it can be done, and Lewiston can continue to thrive, be affordable, and be the wonderful place that it was when I moved here about 5 years ago. Priority-wise is getting property taxes down, getting it affordable. If that takes a creative way of doing it, because that's not in the mayor's purview, then we'll look for creative solutions to get that done, and as well as build our infrastructure so we have a good solid base to build upon.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Pete, do you mind repeating?
Yes. What do you think are the most important issues facing the city of Lewiston in the next year to 5 years? And number 2, how would you prioritize the present and future needs?
Well, I'm gonna go back to infrastructure. I think that's huge in the city of Lewiston, and I say that because in the past, we didn't make decisions to invest in our infrastructure as much as we could have, I believe. And so that's gonna take a lot of planning, a lot of time, it's gonna take a lot of money. The state's not gonna do it for us, the Fed's not gonna do it for us, but we have an opportunity to try to create our own future, if you will. So let me just put in a plug for the Main Street bond that's coming up again in November. That's very critical for our city, and I think it's necessary to grow the city, to have investment come to the city, and those types of things. And Keith, I apologize, I forgot the second part already.
How would you prioritize the present and future needs?
Through the budget, we're very disciplined through the budget, and as you know, we didn't take a tax increase to our property tax budget for the first 3 fiscal years. This year we did, and yet our levy still went down. So I think we have to have an eye for the future and time our budget growth with the growth of the city. But there's gonna be a lot of needs in the city too. So as the city continues to grow and change, there's gonna be even more demands placed on our budget and our and resources, so.
Okay, thank you. Question number 3, Dan, you will start this one here. This has a 1-minute limit. What do you hope to accomplish in your term of office?
Well, I'm gonna go back to infrastructure. We have a lot of infrastructure needs that we're gonna continue to work on. That takes time and planning, and it takes resources, money to do that. So be very vigilant about looking for grant opportunities and ways that we can match that with the dollars that we currently have. We certainly are gonna have to plan for some growth in our facilities in the city of Lewiston. Some of them are aging. We're gonna have to look at some point, we're gonna have to look at growth in public safety, for example. We're gonna have to look at a new station, at least one new station for the fire department. And as we go out west, east of here, we're gonna have to look at possibly satellite facilities for police and fire, things like that. So we're growing like that. very critical for the city. Infrastructure, again, funding, savings.
Okay, thank you. Darlene? You want the question again?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So for my term, I want to cut down on the government wasteful spending. Also to get a plan in place to where it can't happen again, where we're facing it in 4 years. Well, we didn't have any taxes raised for this many years, but all of a sudden someone else gets in and, well, taxes triple or double. So my plan is to go through and actually set something up to where Lewiston can thrive no matter who's in charge of being the mayor, so.
Question number 4, and this has a pass-fail, A and B, and we'll start with you, Darlene. If the bond election passes, how will it affect the city of Lewiston and your job as mayor? And if the bond election fails, how will that affect the city of Lewiston and your job as mayor? You have 2 minutes.
So without actually being able to look at the facts and figures and just getting what we're told as normal citizens, I can't answer that definitely what will happen if it passes or fails. So the goal is to not have any, if it passes, to not have any taxes raised or for anything more to be come out of the property taxes. That would be my hard end. This will not happen. But obviously it's a 30-year one, so you can't do it in 4 years. So my goal would be to lay the structure to where that would not happen if it passes and still get things done. If it fails, that comes into where's the money was there still money left over from a grant that there was supposed to be there, or did we already miss that? So there's too many questions that aren't answered to give you a definitive answer on that.
Okay, thank you. Question number 5.
Keith, would you like an answer?
What's that?
Would you like an answer?
Sure. Go ahead. Sorry about that, Dan.
I don't want to take your job from you, but if the bond passes, honestly, my first thought was, as Keith read that question, is we're gonna go on to the next project. That's where I'm gonna go. So we got that one started, I'll move on and we'll get to work on the next one. So let me give you an example. I know one of the other candidates sitting up here has it on his platform where he talks about franchise fees. That's another way that the city can more equitably distribute some of the cost of our roads if the people were to go for something like that. So why not look at something like that? There's been talk of an auditorium district. I know we have one of our staff members that have looked at that. So there are a lot of other things we can do that can bring growth to the community, but also it stretches our budget and it doesn't rely on property taxes. And so I see that happening with or without the bond passing. If the bond does not pass, and I was asked this question prior to May, what my intentions would be. And I told folks very honestly that my intentions would be to go out and seek an increase in the property tax budget, that portion of our budget, because it's gonna take money and there's no other way to get it. We have to start saving for it, which would be year after year after year, where we save some of our property tax budgets, cash flow that, in other words, or we bond for it. Just because we bond for it doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna be using taxes to pay for that. I like to think of it like a line of credit. If you have a line of credit on your checking account, it's just there in case you need it. But if you're disciplined and you manage your budget, you'll never have to tap into that line of credit. So we need the authority, we need the people to tell us that you can do this. We authorize you to do that. And once we have that kind of sitting in our hip pocket, that line of credit, then we can go out and do what we need to do. And we don't have to tap into that line of credit. I feel fairly confident that that will stand for a long time. We won't have to do that, but it's gonna require us to be disciplined in how we budget and how we move forward.
Thank you, Dan. Our next question is 1 minute. Could you pose a question to your opponent that can be answered? So Dan, if you would like to propose a question there to Darlene, and then Darlene, you'll be able to ask Dan a question.
Thank you, Keith. Well, Darlene, I'm gonna make this easy for you. You said that there are a lot of things that have gone bad or wrong since we changed to a strong mayor former governor, maybe when I came to office. So I was just wondering if you could just list those, be very specific about what is wrong or what have we done wrong that you think needs fixing.
I feel from my job reporting and listening to both sides of the story that the citizens of Lewiston feel a disconnect from their government and that they don't feel listened to. So therefore, there's a disconnect and a trust between the citizens of Lewiston and the government, and that is hindering getting anything done, and people willing to, like you say, pass bonds because they don't know if they can trust the government.
Okay, Darlene, do you have a question for Dan, please?
How would you do things differently in your second term?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for the question. So one of the things that may have to happen, and I don't know if I like thinking about this too hard, but we heard recently from the city council that they think this position requires the assistance of a city administrator or something like that. And so it's come up many times, you know, how many hours does the mayor work? How much does the mayor get paid? And truthfully, unless the council is willing to provide the funding, they did not fund this position, by the way, in the next year. But unless they're willing to do that and go after that seriously, it's gonna be very difficult to find a person, you or myself, that's gonna be able to do this job full-time and stay with it, because we have our lives too. It's just not realistic. And so it appears that one of the things that we're gonna be looking at potentially, and this is all part of the transition to a strong mayor form of government, is having some kind of a possible city administrator type position that would help assist with some of those things.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And Darlene, you'll begin this answer to this question here. Describe your experience developing and balancing budgets and explain how you would relate this to the city budget process. 1 minute.
So being in charge of 2 households, you learn how to budget real fast, especially on limited income. And I do a lot of it remotely for my parents. So I would apply the same principle as you do for your home. You put so much away for saving, you know exactly how much you have to do for each month, and you make it stretch. Just like running a corporation.
Dan?
The question one more time, Keith.
Describe your experience developing and balancing budgets and explain how you would relate this to the city budget process.
Well, the city's budget process, we start out, finance director and the mayor meets with the department heads, we talk about department needs, we assemble that budget, and at some point, the mayor puts together a budget, presents it to the city council, and the city council can vote it down. There's things they can take out of that they don't want to fund, or if they want to add something to it, they can do that. So that's kind of how the budget is put together at the city of Lewiston. You have to have a pretty good forecast of where the revenues are going to be, where they're going to come from, and that's just as important as knowing where the money's going to be spent. So.
Okay, thank you. Question number 7 has 2 parts again in 1 minute. Answers: what can you do as mayor to address citizens' concerns about the increased cost of city services? And what ideas do you have to provide assistance and or relief? Dan?
Well, costs are going up. I can tell you that at one time we used to paint so many miles of road for $50, and today, you know, we might only go half that far or less. So we see that in just everything we buy. It's very expensive. The dollar doesn't go as far. So we look for alternatives. We look for savings. We try to do things, for example, online or remotely. We're doing that under utility billing, and that provides a lot of cost savings for us, and we can stretch those dollars out. We've looked at combining positions, cutting positions. We've done all these things to help save money. And I forgot the second part.
What ideas do you have to provide assistance and or relief?
So we have utility assistance at the city of Lewiston. Our utility rates are going up. It's tough. And part of that's because we have a lot of bonds that we're servicing, both in water and wastewater. but just the cost of providing that service, everything from wages to compliance, everything, it's getting very expensive.
Thank you. Darlene, again, what can you do as mayor to address citizens' concerns about the increasing cost of city services, and what ideas do you have to provide assistance and or relief?
So as far as cost of city services go, I think it would be the creative incentives for lessening the demand on infrastructure, giving the power back to the people of how much they use of the city services, as well as opening it up for competition.
Anything else? What ideas do you have to provide assistance or relief?
Assistance or relief, be incentives. It would be getting creative, looking at the budget, looking at the cost of everything. Ideas off the top of my head would be collecting rainwater. Give people an incentive, so you have a rainwater collection, you're not using the city services as much, give them a tax break.
Okay, thank you. And we are doing well. We're ahead of schedule. So we'll give another question here, 1 minute. What do you consider to be the most important responsibilities of the mayor? Darlene, we'll start with you.
The most important responsibility of the mayor, in my opinion, is to listen to the citizens of Lewiston and make sure that they are heard and enact upon them the best possible way of balancing it out to where one side isn't always right and always happy, the other side isn't always right and always happy. If there's somewhere in the middle and everybody's kind of happy, you're probably doing the job right. So it would be listening to them and taking what they want and acting upon it and make sure that it gets done.
Thank you. Dan?
Keith, thank you. I can't disagree too much with that. I think the mayor has to be the face of the city and interacts very closely with the public. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be put in a lot of tough positions. You're going to have to speak honestly with people, and sometimes it's hard. It's not always easy being that person, but that's your job. That's what you're elected to do. So.
Thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause for our candidates? And that wraps up for our mayor section of our candidate forum. We're going to go in now to city council. And we're going to go through the introductions on that. I'm just going down my no particular order here. Brian Maureen, 57 years old, and has been employed at Clearwater Paper for over 15 years. He graduated high school in Arlington, Texas, and immediately entered the workforce. He has risen through the ranks in his local union from shop steward to the current position of president. He has resided in the city of Lewiston since September of 2000. 3 of our 5 daughters still reside here in the valley, as well as 8 of the grandchildren. And he has never held a public office and sees this as an opportunity to give back to the community. Our next candidate we have Brennan Levy, is that right? Okay. He's 22 years old, self-employed as a graphic designer, and he's worked previously in paper delivery for the Lewiston Morning Tribune. He was homeschooled through a high school education, but had plans for college in the near future. He's the eldest child, and he comes from a wonderful family of 6, and they moved to Lewiston over 3 years ago. He has never held elected office before. This is his 2nd time running. Loves this community and wants to take the opportunity to run for city council and give back to a community that has treated him so well. Our next one, Matt Wright. Matt is 41 years old, serves as an IT infrastructure and operations lead at Cambria Health Solutions. He holds certifications in problem management and Lean Six Sigma, applying strategic thinking to complex systems. He's a lifelong resident of the Lewis-Clark Valley, and he grew up in Cul-de-sac. And now he lives in Lewiston with his wife and 3 sons. Deeply rooted in community values, He was appointed to the Lewiston City Council in January 2025. Matt brings a pragmatic, solutions-oriented approach to city governance, focused on infrastructure, responsible asset management, and building a city that works for families and businesses alike. Bob Blanky. He is a substitute teacher for the Lewiston School District. He has a Bachelor in Science degree from State University of New York. He has 2 adult children, vice president of Lewiston Rotary, and he has already served 8 years on the Lewiston City Council. Next candidate, Andrea Ackerland. 33 years old and works for her brother-in-law at D&D Auto Dealers part-time, and helps her husband with labor, billing, and accounting in his business, Ackerland Services, with her remaining time. Now, she receives her bachelor's in social work through LCSC and is finishing up her master's in social work at the University of Kentucky in pursuit of mental health counseling. She was born in Lewiston and has been in the area her whole life. She and her husband have 2 kids, ages 18 and 3, and she is seeking a seat in the Lewiston City Council. Candidate Cassie Forsman, 33 years old, serves as a member of the Lewiston City Council. She works at Schweitzer Engineering and has completed studies and training in early childhood development, electronics, communications, leadership, and local government. She's a wife of a Marine and a proud mom of 2 young children. Cassie is deeply rooted in Lewiston. She strives to build a community where her kids and future generations can grow, thrive, and one day raise families of their own. Dedicated to service, she works to strengthen local services, foster growth, and ensure a vibrant future for the Valley. Linda Glines is employed full-time at Opportunities Unlimited, and she has completed a course in business and accounting from Kent State University, Burton, Ohio branch, and course completions in medical billing and coding from Lewis Clark State College. She has resided in Lewiston since May of 1988. Her husband has resided here since 2000 as a transplant from Seattle. They have 2 children. One lives here with their spouse and 5 children. The other lives on the East Coast. She has not held any elected offices, and she's been a member, though, of the Lewiston Parks and Recreation Committee for the last 4 years. Is that everybody? Good, I'm on a roll. So, we'll start off in answering the questions. We'll be alternating, and I'll let you know who's up next for each one. Question number 1, we'll start off with Andrea. Why are you seeking this position, and what do you consider to be your qualifications and or skills for this office? This is a 1-minute question.
I decided to run for a seat in the city council because I really feel like...
Your mic, wait, not on there.
Because I really feel like the voices of our residents aren't being heard. Sometimes it feels like you could scream from a mountaintop and not be heard by anybody. I feel like we spent more money on projects than actually investing in our community to make it thrive. And honestly, I feel like if we keep going down this road, in 10 years we'll be bankrupt. So I'm here to stand up as a resident, to be a voice for us, and you can actually depend on me to listen to you and hear your concerns. I have experience in the financial sector as a loan officer and as an advisor. My husband and I own a small business in which I do the billing, accounting, and taxes. And I was a manager and gained a lot of experience in hiring, firing, balancing inventory, and productivity. My education has given me experience in creating community change, doing research, mediating, and fair negotiations. To add, I base my decisions on facts, not feelings, and I find joy in learning new things and creative problem solving.
Thank you very much. Bob, again, why are you seeking this position, and what do you consider to be your qualifications and or skills for the office?
Thank you very much. Having been on the council for 8 years, I believe I have been shot at, I have been wounded, I've had mud thrown at me, I've been called names. I even have a new nickname now, Do Nothing Bob. Well, Do Nothing Bob sat for 8 years with counselors out there right now, counselors right here. And during that time, I think those 8 years, we accomplished a lot. And that's what my plan is to go forward. Based on my track record, we settled the URA lawsuit right off the bat, saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was the human rights ordinance, one of the very first within the city. We were held up as a model down in Boise with other cities. During my time on the council, we settled several union contracts without having to go to court or without having legal actions. I guess a proud accomplishment for me was the URA expansion of the sewer system into East Lewiston, providing homes tremendous amount of access to sewers that they've never had.
Thank you, Bob. Cassie?
Can you ask
Yeah.
the question again?
Why are you seeking this position, and what do you consider to be your qualifications and/or skills for the office?
I am running for re-election. The first 2 years of my city council, I felt was just a lot of learning, trying to figure out the system, how it works, asking lots of questions to make sure when I'm making decisions that I'm informed and I know what I'm voting on. And then once the 2 years passed, I feel like I finally got my feet wet and I was able to start really making decisions of what I wanted to see and what I wanted to accomplish. I'm hoping to continue that. And what I think makes me qualified, I've been at Schweitzer for 10 years, and we obviously have values of, a lot of values of communication. I like to approach things with data, and that's how I approach decisions, is with data and gathering data. Depersonalized problems. We're up here to do what's best for the city, not to get upset at each other or take things personal, but to just keep moving forward and work together. And I think a council that works together gets things done and comes up with different solutions, so.
Thank you, Cassie. Linda, you want the question?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I feel that the city hasn't been very citizen proactive, and I want to find ways to change that situation. Citizens would like answers, and answers they can actually understand. This includes questions and fears on their taxes, fees, how much money's spent, and permits, among other concerns. The city has its struggles financially, and I wish to be a part of finding those solutions. The hope is the solutions will benefit the city, its employees, the citizens, and possibly ease some of the citizens' financial burdens. I don't really have any political experience. I have spent my time on Parks and Rec, but I do understand budgets. I've worked with federal and state billings and their guidelines and payments. I have an understanding of government financials. I ask questions, a lot of them, and I do research to find the answers. And as a counselor, I will welcome citizens reaching out to me.
Thank you very much, Linda. Brennan?
Thank you. The reason that I am looking to run for office is because this city is one of the first places I've ever felt at home, and these people have treated me very well, and I see that a lot of the people around me are suffering very, very much economically. They don't believe that they have no faith in the current government, and that's taking a toll on a lot of people. And so I want to get up there to see what I can do about that and be their advocate on the city council to give back to a community that has given a lot to me. That's really as simple as it gets. As far as experience that would be helpful, I do have, before I lived here, I used to work in construction over in Athol, Idaho, and I got a lot of good experience in teamwork, which I think is very important for navigating. Is my time up?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Ryan, do you want the question, or are you good?
Keith, you can go ahead and ask the question again.
Why are you seeking this position, and what do you consider to be your qualifications and/or skills for the office?
I'm seeking the position of city council because I had a meeting with the mayor in May prior to the last bond election, and the education that I got during that time was tremendous as a taxpayer and as a citizen of the city. I have the opportunity to represent right now roughly 500 members. I feel I do a good job. There's some of them that aren't happy with me, and I'm fine with that. But I do the best I can to balance out for everyone and look at the good. The money that's in your pocket is no different than the money that's in my pocket right now. It's just as valuable to me as it is to you, and I do not agree with frivolous spending. I want to find ways to make sure that the infrastructure needs of the future generations are addressed. I want to make sure that we do it right, we do it one time, and we're done with it. Job that you have to do multiple times over is repetitious. It's quite frankly stupid, and it's not cost effective. As a leader of the union, I've had to negotiate with both. Thank you.
Matthew, would you like the question, or you're good?
I'm good.
Okay?
So back in January, I came before the mayor and the council and I asked to be appointed to office. Reasoning I gave back then was, I think I can help. I'm raising my family here and I care about this community, and I want Lewiston to be the place where my children can raise a family. And to do that, we need to make sure Lewiston is ran properly, ran responsibly, and that business grows in this valley. The experience I told them I had wasn't in politics, wasn't in managing a city, it was in problem management and IT. As a problem manager, sometimes it's a server that breaks, sometimes it's a network that goes down, but a lot of times it's human process. People writing a process that isn't as efficient as it can be. Maybe it was back then, but we can continuously improve.
Thank you,
As we move
Matthew.
forward.
Question number 2, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. We'd like to hear what you think about this. What do you think are the most important issues facing the citizens of Lewiston in this year and up to the 5 years? And then, could you prioritize that? Bob?
I believe the mayor summed it up. I could probably end it right there if we just want to record what he said. Going forward, looking at infrastructure. Your city is like your home. If you are not spending money to keep it up, you're going backwards. If we're not going forward 2 steps, we're going backwards 1 step. You will hear some of the councilors say that we frivolous spending. Tell the council, people, tell us what we need to get rid of. Do you want to eliminate parks? Would you like to cut back on police force? Get rid of a firefighter or 2? Those are all options that you have out there. More importantly, we need to find other sources of revenue. Our levy has declined consistently over the last 10 years. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, prior councils, for that. What's done that? It's growth. There is growth in the city. We have councilors up here and candidates who are, not councilors, but candidates who are bashing the city and saying that we're doing nothing and that we're not growing. That's not true. That's obvious by the fact that our levy keeps dropping. There is growth in our city. What can we do going forward? I want to make sure our state legislatures are hearing us, knowing that we need to raise the homeowners exemption to $250,000 where it should be. We need to raise the circuit breaker. We need to get that up there. We need to get the circuit breaker up to $250,000, $2,500. And we need to make sure that our taxpayers know that there is a break for utilities. We need to get that word out to people that utilities, there is a break for low-income people. And that's a very, very important item that I don't know if we do a good enough job of publicizing that. We're going forward, infrastructure and all these taxes. I'm not gonna lie. If I sit up here and say that I'm going to cut your taxes, shame on Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Cassie?
Thrown off, I thought you were gonna start.
No.
quick.
Question again is, again, you have 2 minutes. What do you think are the most important issues facing the city of Lewiston in the next year to 5 years? And then prioritize that if you could, please.
I think economic development. Obviously, we have cut and put the budget on a strict and cut where we can. But the only way we're gonna get a relief on citizens is by growing our budget, getting more manufacturers in here that bring the dollars back into the city. Hopefully filling vacant buildings that I know people look at and they're sore thumb. A lot of that has to do with people want to come in and buy property. They don't want to lease land, they want to buy, and we have to get creative how to provide that so that we can continue to see growth. That's one action item that I'd like to really work towards is how do we get maybe some retail in here as well as manufacturers, but how can we get some retail stores in here and what can we do to become appeasing to them and getting vacant lots for them to want to buy hopefully. And so that's a difficult decision that we face right now. A big reason why our taxes are so high. I also think that we have our police and our fire department that we are gonna eventually need a fire station, and how are we gonna pay for it without further taxing the citizens, is growing that tax base and getting those dollars and getting creative. Police department, they have an old police station as well, and they are eventually gonna need upgrades as well as many other city infrastructures. We've been kind of kicking that down the road for a long time, and if you continue to cut the budget, you're only gonna further kick the can down the road. So how do we pay for that and raise the budget? Again, goes all back to infrastructure and getting more manufacturers in here and raising that tax base, as well as housing, making sure we have enough housing to bring that competitive drive.
Okay, thank you. Linda, what do you see the most important issues facing the city of Lewiston in the next year to 5 years, and then prioritize?
I'm going to agree with the others. It's infrastructure. We need to have the water lines, the sewer lines, the roads. You can't build businesses if you don't have that and have reasonable and safe access to them. We need the businesses. The businesses will help offset the citizen tax base. So we need to find ways to get more businesses here to help the city, to help with the cost of the city. I think a review for some of the other stuff we need is fees. We need to listen to the citizens. We need to look and see if we have the money from the infrastructure, taken care of, and the businesses coming in. We could maybe help the citizens then with looking at ways to help with their fees. Priority would be that infrastructure. We cannot grow, we cannot bring any more money in unless we are bringing businesses, homeowners, people that are going to bring more money into the valley to help spread it amongst everybody.
Okay, thank you. Brennan?
Yes, so the top priority at this point is the economic hardship we're seeing. That comes in the form of the tax issues, the levy issues. That's the biggest issue. I can't deny, as some of the other candidates have discussed, that the infrastructure is important, but the spending and the taxing, that's what we need to look at first. That's what the people of Lewiston are worried about. I believe most other issues ultimately flow from this one issue, as I've analyzed it. So I think we need to see what we need to be spending money on and make sure that we're spending money how it's been promised it will be spent. So I would like to see an audit of our finances and make sure we're using them in the way the citizens want them to be used. I believe that's my top priority issue. The second issue that people are worried about is government transparency and accountability. This is a huge issue. This is the second thing anyone will tell you when you ask them what the problems are here. I've done a lot of work myself digging up freedom of information requests to get information on city matters that they are not sharing with the people and that people have asked me to run by. These are some serious issues for a government to be going through, and these are my top priorities. I want to do what I can to get those sorted quickly, and I believe from there it will be much more smooth sailing to move on to many other issues. Thank you.
Brian?
It's been a while. Keith, ask the question again.
You got it. What do you think are the most important issues facing the city of Lewiston in the next year to 5 years? Then prioritize if you can.
So Keith, the issues that I see right now, the bond levy that's up for the downtown businesses. I see the 16th Avenue water storage tank that collapsed, that has a bladder in it with a 10-year life expectancy that nobody's talking about that needs to be addressed. There's issues there that need to be resolved with that. I see the need for another fire station out in the East Orchards, for future growth going out as the city does grow, and it will grow. I also see empty storage buildings around that need to be, empty retail that needs to be reestablished. As an individual citizen of the city of Lewiston, no matter where I go, I'm a representative of the city of Lewiston. And I do have those conversations with people whenever I make those trips. Anything that we can do to help ourselves will be beneficial. I would love to have a Fred Meyer here. I'm not a Target fan, but I'd take a Target as well. Whenever people look at the center of the city, they look at downtown Lewiston. Well, that's the center of the valley, not the center of the city of Lewiston. You look up in the orchards around the old Walmart, what's now North 40, that we never should have lost to begin with. There are bureaucratic boundaries that are being, roadblocks that are being put in place that are stymieing a lot of the growth that's within the city and stopping businesses from wanting to come here. Whether a city councilman or a citizen of the city, I address that anyway. Thank you.
Matthew?
Thank you. So the first one on the list, an issue that we're facing, is the water pipes and sewage pipes downtown. Water pipes, it's not just downtown, it's actually throughout Lewiston, but primarily focusing on the downtown at the moment. If that bond passes, then it'll become less of an issue because we can replace those water pipes and the sewer pipes at the same time, not wasting millions digging up the ground twice. Once we get that finished, so if that is voted yes to, and we get that finished, then we can go into the design process and start looking at how do we want our downtown to look and make it more of a center where people will congregate and walk around and go to businesses, and we can open up more businesses down there. We can put more housing down there. We can put parking down there that makes sense. So that's the main issue that I'm focused on at the moment. But other ones that are also important are our contracts. The way that we're setting up contracts when we give services to the county or give services to the county of Asotin, those contracts need to be fair and they need to be transparent. If we're going to provide a service, it needs to be sustainable and paid for. We can't have the Lewiston taxpayers funding Nez Perce County or Asotin County. So though that's very important and on my list as well, that I've been looking at over the last 10 months that I've been in helping with contracts. In addition to the infrastructure and the contracts, there's things like the auditorium district that the mayor spoke to briefly that interests me quite a bit. I believe some of the barriers with pulling in larger businesses is that they'll say there's nothing to do in Lewiston. So we need to focus on how do we make something to do in Lewiston as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Andrea?
Okay, so, I mean, I think they covered a lot of it. Definitely taxes, you know, we have to find ways to bring revenues in, and so that we can take the burden away from our taxpayers. But secondly, we also need to build, and there is some bureaucratic issues within the city that are causing building to be harder than it should be. We have people trying to build low-income housing, and it's just, they're just spending money and not getting anywhere. So that's causing issues with housing, which if we can get more housing, we can also help have more competitive housing rates. And then we can get more people in here, because yes, we need more businesses, but if we don't have the employees to put in those businesses, they're not gonna do any good. We already have businesses struggling for employees. We need growth. And we actually are losing population since 2022, because people aren't moving here, people are leaving because it's getting harder. So, those are some of the big things. Yes, infrastructure is also important. I do agree with a lot of them. We need a strong foundation to build on. So, it's just finding ways to offset the costs so that it's not all falling on the taxpayers all the time.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is also a 1-minute answer. And we'll start with Cassie. What can you do as a city councilor to address citizens' concerns about the increasing cost of city services? What ideas do you have to provide assistance or relief? Cassie?
I would have to agree with Blakey on, I don't know if we are very transparent about the circuit breaker. I think we could be a little more, we could be a little more communicative to our citizens that that is an option for them if they are having a hard time with their utility bills, even property taxes, they are able to get circuit breakers depending on their income level with that. Veterans, people having medical issues, and so I think being more communicative about that is definitely something that we could utilize. And as well as, can you repeat the question one more time?
No, what can you do as a city councilor to address citizens' concerns about the increasing cost of the city services, and what ideas do you have to provide assistance and or relief?
Okay, so the assistance one I got hung up on. Definitely, the infrastructure needs to get up to date. If we don't get the infrastructure up to date, we're gonna continue to have to raise costs to just fix repairs. And we need to get so that we're sustainable, we're not constantly fixing broken pipes, band-aiding things, because in the long run, when you put band-aids on so much, it continues to cost you.
Thank you, Cassie. Linda, do you want the question? Okay. What can you do as a city councilor to address citizens' concerns about the increasing cost of city services? What ideas do you have to provide assistance and or relief?
I think that there needs to be a review of, how do you put, the water bills. I think there's a lot of leakage. I think with the infrastructure, there's a lot of leakage. I mean, where I'm at, my water bill skyrocketed because of a leak. We need to, that infrastructure is going to, fixing that is going to save, if you can get pipes fixed, it's gonna save you money. I mean, we need to review all of those type of fees that provide the services. We need to make sure that this water meter fee is appropriate, you know, that it doesn't go on for the lifetime of this meter. At some point, that meter is paid for. That would be a relief and, you know, a pretty significant monthly relief for citizens. I've had a number of people address that specifically. I have read and looked up, and there are many, many services out there that people can access and apply for to get relief.
Thank you very much, Linda. Brennan, do you want the question?
No.
Okay.
As far as relief goes, it's already been mentioned, but the best thing I think out of the options that are available right now would be better publicization of the circuit breaker and other such options. And as someone who works in graphic design and marketing, I believe that's something that I could do quite well. In terms of answering citizen concerns, the best thing I can do is keep them in the loop about what's going on, what I'm doing up here with their time, and being their advocate for their economic interests on the council. That's the best thing I can do. Thank you.
Brian, you want the question?
Yes, please.
What can you do as a city councilor to address citizens' concern about the increasing cost of city services? What ideas do you have to provide assistance or relief?
We hear a lot about everything's going up, inflation, the costs rising on everything. Any input that a citizen would have, I would be open to consideration. One person can't solve the problem. One city councilor can't solve the problem. One mayor can't solve the problem. It takes a community to solve a community problem. Therefore, I would expect input from the citizenry on what it is, what situations that they have that they could help to solve the problem with. I know for me, whenever we built our new house back in 21, I paid $1,500 for a water meter. Then I get a $45 a month water bill for a 1-inch service. That's taxation without representation. You have to justify what you're spending for. If I'm paying for the installation, then I'm paying for labor. If I'm paying the maintenance, the monthly fee for the meter, then I'm paying that service fee. Garbage goes up, we're down to, I think, a 32-gallon curbside container. My wife laughed at me whenever we got it, but I'm not paying them to dump a 96 whenever there's 2 bags of garbage in it once a week. We personally cut our corners in our household budget, thank you,
Thank you, Brian. Matthew,
Yes, thank you.
question?
No, I got it. So addressing the concerns, foremost, that starts with transparency. So being transparent with the citizens of why are services costing more money? Why is your water more expensive? I can tell you why the water rates increased was to increase capital budget. I mean, there were some operational cost increases, but to fund capital projects, which is replacing pipes that need replaced all over town, that costs money. And if you don't continuously fund it, you're gonna fall behind and end up in the situation that we're in right now, which we're trying to correct. As far as relief, where do we get the relief? We can become more efficient in the way that we provide the services and find ways to reduce operational costs. That's how we can start finding relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Andrea, you want the question?
Sure.
What can you do as a city councilor to address citizens' concerns about the increasing cost of these services? What ideas do you have to provide assistance and/or relief?
Yeah, I definitely think that transparency is a key point in this. It's a lot easier to pay a bill when you understand the mechanics behind why you have that bill. Also, I do agree with Matthew. I would really be interested in looking into productivity and things like that, and why the costs are what they are. And with that, we're talking about services, and public transportation is one of our services. I know it's not nearly as big of a bill, but our one-time call fees are almost just as much as our route fees are. Because we just go pick up people when they call us, which we wanna have transportation for people, but why not just add a few more bus stops to a regular route? It's gonna cost way less money and be able to do a lot of the same work, and it's just doing that in every sector of our services.
Thank you. Bob?
Every member of this council and prior councils have seen the same study that has been done. The one that recommends rates for utilities should be raised 5% a year. City councils don't follow that. Some years we don't raise them, some years we go 1%, 2%, and then we're playing catch up. I've always ran on the platform, I wanna be real, I wanna be honest. We pay for these reports, we need to follow these reports. Utility rates will go up in the future. They will not go down. I can't make them down, none of the candidates here can make them go down. I promise you they will go up. But what else can we do? Let's bring some new business into the valley that helps with the tax base. Let's work with our partners. Let's be working with CETA. Let's be working with the Chamber of Commerce. Let's be working with the Port of Lewiston. Let's be working with Valley Vision to bring new businesses into this valley, expanding our tax base, expanding the ability to generate revenue. I believe that's the issue that we're not talking enough about.
Thank you, Bob. Question number 4. What specific decision or vote by the mayor or the council in the past year did you agree with, and/or what would you have done differently? And we'll start off with Linda.
It's been mentioned time and time again, and the most recent one is going to be this infrastructure bond. We have to have it. We have to. We cannot progress without it. Everybody's toilets in the orchards flush all the way down to downtown Lewiston. If those pipes break, what are people going to do? I feel that, it's an honest, they've been honest with it. I just feel that they haven't made people understand that aspect of it. And I don't know if he can do anything different can be done with it. I mean, this is a project that has to be done, and it's the one that's on everybody's mind at the moment.
Thank you. Brendan?
Yes, can I get the question again?
What specific decision or vote by the mayor or the city council in the past year did you agree with, and or what would you have done differently?
Thank you. So several, about a month, maybe a bit longer ago, there was a vote held in regards to raising the salary of the city council. This was something that many people felt was going to be very out of touch if they ended up doing so, and many of us were pleasantly surprised that the councilors saw what their constituents wanted, saw the writing on the wall, and voted against that. And that increase in salary that would be passed right back onto our bill. It would be a very small increase, but it was, I think, a profound symbolic act there, and that's one good thing I can say that I approve of what the city council did previously. Thank you.
Brian?
Much like Brendan, I agree with the decision that the city council took not to take the pay increase. I believe that was a slap in the face to the taxpayer to ask for more money, because $88,000 a year for the mayor, I feel is sufficient. I don't live in his house, I don't live in his world, I don't live in his budget, but $88,000 a year does do quite well for us in our household. As far as being a city councilor, whether it pays or doesn't pay is not the reason why I'm running. I have no monetary gains there. I don't look to line my pockets, I don't look to make friends, I don't look to make enemies either. But that is one decision that they made that I do agree with, was backing off on that.
Thank you, Brian. Matthew?
Yes, thank you. So there's been many decisions that I've agreed with. So when I say one I didn't agree with necessarily, and I would have done something differently. And I'm starting to get a bit of a name for myself on these type of issues because of the way that I vote. And that's with how parking lots are regulated by our ordinances, requiring a certain amount of trees and shrubs and bark and so on. Now, the idea behind it, the deep down idea is it helps with stormwater. But when I go over to Winco and I look at that parking lot, stormwater isn't gonna run up concrete and get into these little flower beds where there's trees. And I find that it's just an unnecessary cost on developers, and I don't agree with it. Now, not everybody agrees with me, so I'm looking for different approaches to get agreement in the future on that.
Thank you. Andrea, want the question?
Sure.
What specific decision or vote by the mayor or the city council in the past year did you agree with, and or what would you have done differently?
I think for me it was just like utility rate costs. We already, like, we're putting $4.5 million into a bond, and we're putting another $22 million into capital funds for them a year, you know? And it just seems like the cost is never ending when it comes to it, and it seems like the fee, we might be lowering property tax rates, but we're getting it double on the other end. And so for me, I would just, it's more about figuring out where we can be more efficient and find ways to not have to increase the rates yet again.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
Nobody likes paying taxes once. How about paying taxes twice? Recently, we approved $380,000 for airport operations. You as a city taxpayer pay a piece of that. Do you know the county approved a similar amount? You as a county tax living in the county, you pay it there too. So as a city resident, you pay twice for airport operations. Somebody living outside the city and the county pays one. Not fair, not right. It needs to be changed. We need to renegotiate the Joint Powers Act, move that budget item into the county budget, saving $380,000 to the city. That's equivalent to almost 3%. There's a tax cut.
Cassie?
I would have to echo Councilor Wright. That was one that I stood on with him with the trees and the parking lot restriction. I think if we're gonna get infrastructure in here, if we're gonna get industrial in here and new business, we really need to be creative and work with them. And if they're saying that this is something that's causing a strife or making it difficult for us to come to the valley, then we need to kibosh it. And there's a lot of cities that get rid of red tape or things that they don't find valuable, or if they can't justify it, in order to bring business in. And I think that we need as a city to get better about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Question number 5, on your sample ballot, you will find information on the special bond election. So if the bond election passes, how will it affect the city of Lewiston and your job as a counselor? If the bond election fails, how will it affect the city of Lewiston and your job as a counselor? And we'll start off with Brennan.
If the bond ends up passing, then it will be my job as city councilor to be paying very close attention for the length of my tenure on how that progresses from there, and to make sure that it is being used in the way that the people voted for it to be used, to make sure that it is being run efficiently. And of course, I am only one voice on the council, and I will need to engage in collaboration on that matter with the other council members. If the bond does not pass, I think people raise some questions about if our infrastructure will survive without that. I don't feel that I am informed enough on that. I don't believe any of us have been informed enough on if that's true. A lot of us certainly don't believe that, and that's why we voted it down last time. But I think it would be my responsibility to investigate that further in the new capacity that I would have, and get that figured out as well. Thank you.
Brian, you want the question again?
I believe I've got it, Keith.
Okay.
If the bond measure passes, I expect to be held accountable by any and all citizens of the city of Lewiston on how the money's being spent, business owners downtown that are affected by it, what's the timeline, the impact to their businesses. If it's not passed, I expect to see another run at it again. We had it with this very building we're sitting in until it finally passed. We had it with a high school until it finally passed. If people listen to what they're being told, they'll find something else to go after, another project to go after. Ultimately, whenever we have that happen, then chaos is gonna raise its ugly head, and that's whenever we're gonna have a sewer main break downtown. We'll have a number of businesses that are flooded. We can kick the can down the road and not address it, or we can address it responsibly now. Thank you.
Matthew.
Thank you. Well, if it passes, then we get to go into the exciting part of design and getting all of your opinions on, do you want a one-way or a two-way, and really talking through how do we want this to look when we're done, because that whole road is gonna get dug up, because those sewer pipes are down 20 feet. So that'll be exciting to go through that process with all of you on how do we want our downtown to look. If it fails, not gonna be quite as exciting. It's gonna probably be late nights of me talking with the council and the mayor of how do we figure out how to replace these water pipes and sewer pipes in one run? What do we need to do to get that done so that we don't have to dig this hole twice? So that would be where I'd be spending most of my time, hoping we could figure some way to do that so we're not wasting millions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Andrea.
If it passes, it's just gonna be a lot of, really just making sure things are going the way they should be, the way they said they would be going to go, that we're not overspending on it, so that we don't get to this point where we're needing more money now, you know, and then also, if it doesn't pass, I think we gotta put our feet to the ground and figure out ways that we can finance it without having to ask for more money, you know, we gotta find ways of building our revenue so that these projects aren't so stressful and so hard to want to approve in our town.
Thank you. Bob?
I will vote yes for the bond issue, just so you know where I stand on that. A responsible council needs to find ways to fund projects. The question was brought up earlier about a meter fee. Little history lesson, quick one. That meter fee was put in place as a funding mechanism to pay off the bond issue for the water and sewer plant. You did not see your taxes go up. The mechanism was put in place to pay for the water and sewer bond issues, which the public overwhelmingly voted for. That's responsible government, finding a way to pay for something. The same is true with this bond issue downtown. The money's in place, the grants are there, the money's in the bank, vote for it. It only gets more expensive down the road, it only gets more complicated down the road. And for the businesses downtown, I have to tell you, it's gonna be living hell for a while, probably. If we're tearing up Main Street, we need to be prepared to work with the builders, the owners of those buildings downtown. But if we don't get it done, the reason we're doing it is, one of the reasons is adequate fire protection, which we do not have right now downtown.
Thank you, Bob. Cassie?
If the bond passes, then we get to get started, as Councilor Wright says, we get to look at what do we want this to look like, what designs do we want. I think when we first brought out examples of designs, people really got stuck on that, this is what it's gonna look like, which wasn't the case, it was just ideas, just to kind of give a concept, but that was gonna be a long haul of still communicating on what we actually wanted that road to look like, what kind of infrastructure design we wanted that to be. If we don't, then you could ask Pullman when they went through their reconstruction of their downtown. You can ask our businesses, anytime we've done small little projects to infrastructure, it hurts the businesses. They have a hard time getting their customers. Usually their customers don't want to go because of the inconvenience of trying to find parking because there's too much construction going down there. If we don't pass the bond, that's multiple times that we're tearing up the road and causing inconvenience on the business owner. We tear it up once and we work together to try to be resourced and be good neighbors to our businesses, so hopefully that we don't put a strain on them.
Thank you very much. Linda?
Well, if the bond passes, I just feel like I'm stuck on infrastructure tonight. If the bond passes, then yes, we get to start expanding. It makes downtown more accessible. It brings in the more businesses. Like I said, all those lines run straight down the hill, straight to downtown. So it's going to affect everybody all the way up the hill. If it doesn't pass, it's going to cost, because something's going to happen. And this $22 million you're looking at right now, if it doesn't pass, 2 years down the road, we try to get it passed, it's going to be $32 million. We need to get it done while we've got bids in, and we can get it done in a more economical status now, because it's not going to get cheaper.
Thank you very much. We are on a roll. They're answering very quickly. This will be our last question. It is 1 minute long for your response. What do you see as the benefits of contracting with Valley Vision for economic development? And we'll start off with Brian.
Valley Vision has a purpose, and if they go out and bring more business to the valley, and then that business is met with obstacles here in town, what's the point in having it? We need to alleviate the problems of these businesses that are wanting to come to town, be it P&Z, be it the engineering department, wherever the stymie is. Some of it may be with the fire department bringing buildings up to code. We need to figure out what gets done and how we make that happen. And as a counselor, I see the opportunity for us to work together in order to bring more business into the valley.
Matthew.
Thank you. Well, the benefits of contracting with Valley Vision. So there's two ways, I suppose we could say a business comes to Lewiston. They somehow figure out Lewiston exists and they decide to start a business here. Or we go out and find the business. And I've sat down with Jerry at Valley Vision multiple times and talked through this process with him. We go to California and talk to a business down there that's paying in fees and taxes 2 or 3 times more than if they came here to Lewiston. We show that their business model worked just fine here in Lewiston. Then we get them to come over here. Or we go up to Canada when there were tariffs occurring and they're shipping product down here. It's gonna cost them a lot less if they just come down to Lewiston. And we bring in manufacturers, particularly manufacturing or food processing, because that brings new money in. I could go on forever.
Thank you very much. Andrea, what do you see the benefits of contracting with Valley Vision for economic development?
I think the idea is really grand about bringing new businesses in. We need more revenue. But again, like I said earlier, bringing in new businesses is not really helpful when we don't have workers to run this, to work in the businesses. We already have struggling businesses to get employees. And so I think that the premise of Valley Visions is great, but I don't think that it's really useful when we can't even sustain the businesses we have. We keep watching businesses leave and businesses shut down because the environment for building business is not that strong. So we must focus on that first before we worry about getting businesses here.
Thank you. Bob?
There probably isn't a more controversial program in the city of Lewiston than Valley Vision. I support Valley Vision. I support the other organizations that work alongside them. It takes a village to bring a new industry to our city. It's not done by one organization, as I mentioned earlier. It's done by multiple organizations working all assets of the problem. We've got to attract people who want to live in Lewiston, who want to live in our community, who want to live in our county. We need to sell the city. I was in sales for a long time, and believe me, very rarely does anybody come up and say, I want to buy that. You convince them. And no doesn't mean no. You've got to hear no over 6 times before someone really doesn't want that product. We need to go out there, talk to businesses. That's the job of Valley Vision, working in conjunction with Chamber, CETA, and any of the other economic organizations that we've got. They are the face of our city.
Thank you, Bob. Cassie?
Valley Vision, when my first year or so of being on council, was not putting out what we were paying. And we did put their feet under the fire. Counselor at the time, Licky and I asked questions. I reached out, asked people if they were getting their money's worth out of Valley Vision and what they felt. And with that, we said, you guys, we're gonna hold funding if you guys can't get us some results. And they have a new they have a new leadership in place now. And since then, they have been active, constantly having showings, going to states and advocating for the valley, and since then we have seen 2 new businesses, 2 new manufacturers come to the valley. So we're seeing results with Valley Vision. One is North Forest Slides up on the hill, and then we're having Cascade Plastics come sometime in January is when they're supposed to break ground. So I'm very passionate about, you pay for the dollars, they put the work in, and I think Valley Vision has really stepped up.
Linda?
Valley Vision does the legwork, and then they bring the results of that legwork to the city. Then they're gonna convince the city why this is good for us. We need that communication. We have to have somebody out there doing this, and with the Valley Vision and the other agencies, it is actually, I would feel kind of saving, because then you would have to have people within the city doing it. And these people at Valley Vision, they have the experience and the knowledge. They know where to go, what states to go to, what businesses are the ones that are gonna work with us the best. And I mean, I support what they do. We need what they do.
Thank you very much. And Brennan?
The sole benefit to contracting with Valley Vision would be in its premise, which is to bring businesses and growth down here. And I have lived here for several years, and I have not seen enough of a benefit in its progress on that front to justify the cost. So I think right now that is just another cost that the people struggling here do not need. If something needs to change in either city policy or in the policy and strategies of Valley Vision before I would be willing to reevaluate that opinion. And if they can start bringing in the great growth that we need, then I would be happy to contract with that. But right now, it's just another cost that I don't think that we need personally. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, that wraps it up for our candidate forum. But we want to give you some questions that came into the League of Women Voters that were not asked, but we encourage you to answer them on your social media platforms. One of the questions, when will the city eliminate subsidy they pay to the county airport? What do you consider to be the importance of the airport as an essential city service? Question one. Number two, City of Lewiston water, sewer, gas bill has been charging an additional $34 a month water meter fee on our bills for years now. Will we at some point see the end of this fee? What would you do to assure citizens more special charges won't be added? Another question was, after Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director, reported that there are 2 traffic backups twice a day from the Bryden Canyon Road to the 400 block of Bryden Avenue that are both in the late afternoon and that last less than 20 minutes at the most. Are you still willing to support widening Bryden Avenue that will cost millions and will be detrimental to the residents on Bryden Avenue? Another question, there is a perceived animosity between the city government and the county commission. What would you recommend to be done to overcome this perception? And what is your position budgeting the maximum 3% levy option and 1% foregone taxes that is allowable under law for optional needs? And again, this candidate forum will be shown back on the Lewiston-Clarkston Chamber of Commerce for the LC Valley. All you have to do is go into their website, lcvalleychamber.org. Again, that's lcvalleychamber.org. At this point, please give a round of applause for our candidates for the Also, on your sample ballot, they talk more about the special bond levy. We are ending so that you have plenty of time to talk to our candidates. So again, thank you very much for being here. Good night.